What's up, guys? Welcome back to the channel. Maverick here with another episode of Wave Listen to Me. So last episode, we got Minare, I guess, tying up loose ends, if you will, with her ex-boyfriend, Mitsuo. Throughout the entire episode, she was showing signs of weakness again, almost getting back together with Mitsuo, but she managed to rebel in the end. Which, I guess, good on her, right? At least she's not entirely hopeless to the point to fall for such an obvious trap. Now, personally, I was hoping that she could use this encounter as more material for her next radio episode, but we'll see about that, right? We are on episode 10 now, so that means that including this one, there's 3 more episodes until the end, if there is any time to actually make a sort of conclusion arc, if you will, maybe to set up for a next season or to set up for the future story. Now would probably be the time. So, without further ado, let's get right into it. Alright, let's begin in 3, 2, 1, play. Oh, rejected. She became, she wanted to work in radio because of him, right? Oh, well, no shit. So he actually doesn't want to be a radio writer, eh? He actually wants to do... I'm not exactly sure, like, what the prize entails, but I'm assuming maybe it's more in with actual literature and stuff. Okay, so could this be the drama that I was talking about that's gonna carry us through the last few episodes? Oh, and also, by the way, Sapporo beer. Sapporo biru, I guess they call it in Japan. Cheers. Ah. Well, for real though, it's actually quite tasty. Probably one of my favorite normal beer variants that Japan has. I don't... Yeah, I don't think this is draft beer though. Yeah, it's not. Surprisingly tasty for a non-draft beer variant. Let's see. Are there any people who we haven't seen yet? I think maybe 2 more? 2 old guys? Is this the same night? She's still trying to find excuses for him. He's like, I want none of this shit. Oh. So in the end, she did. I don't think that's legal, though. You can't record people. No, and those are probably the two old guys that we saw in the opening that we haven't seen yet. Wait, so every episode is on a different day of the week? Ooh. She's realizing. Yeah, that is some good breakfast. Yeah. It's a give and take situation. That's how love is. So Minare can actually feel that she's wanted and she's needed. She's the mature one, right? Yeah, she needs to be wanted. Typically, yeah, she's like, she's like, why would you say this in front of her? Well, he's a cook. Oh, okay.
横に座ってました。まあそうなんすけど、ちょろいはちょろいなりのなんというか教授というかね。こんな感じで OK？ まあそう、まあもういいよ別に。どうせまた直前まで台本くれないんでしょ。わかったわかった。インプロビゼーション。インプロビゼーションね。ジャジーなラジオですこと。笑い事じゃないよまったく。おう。あ、じゃあ今晩。はーい、それじゃあ。おおお、この間や大したことしたわけじゃないよ。山登って酒飲んで映画見て。
Totally a date.
その家で飲み直して。罠に突っ込んだだけ。
Poked into it.
店員さん。はい、少々お待ちを。ラムを頼んだと思うんですが。すみません。うちの人インド人なので。
お姉さん、ちょっとこれ。
はい、ただいま。クレーム来てるよ。しっかりしてくれ、店長代理。気分に左右されるな。プロの意地を見せろ。ごめん、てめえがどの口で言ってんだよと正直自分でも思うけれども。
This guy.
小田さん、ちょっと無言の怒りを感じる。中原さんの気持ちはご存知でしたよね。うん。いや、電話に聞き耳立ててたから隠すようなことでもないと。小田さん、あまり中原さんをコケにしないでもらえますか。んであんたにそんなこと言われなきゃ。あの人は見た目はあんな髪をセンターから染めたりしてますけど、優しくてすごく繊細なところがある人なんです。知ってるよ、んなことは。あんたより付き合い長いんだよこっちは。小田さんが会ったら殺すとまでおっしゃってた方とよりを戻されたのは大変よろしいことだと思いますけど。よろしくないし戻してないから。だったらもうこれ以上中原さんをもてあそばないであげてくれませんか。さっきのだって口に出して言わなくても済む話だったと。
That's kind of true, though.
だからてかもてあそぶってなんだよ。それだけです。差し出がましいこと言ってすみませんでした。仕事に戻ります。そんなに心配ならさ、あんたが慰めてやりゃいいじゃん。一緒に暮らしてんだからさ。止めていただいてますが暮らしてません。それが歯がゆいです。どう違うんだよ、イラつくなあの女。そして私コケにするなって何それ。中原くんだって多分喜んでくれるって。貸した金の半分を回収し肉体的なダメージを与え、いやことによると死んでいるかもってこれだけ聞けばさ。
私生活の不満は吐き出したか。
Well, he didn't say the latter part.
ないですけど。
行くぞ。特別ゲストがお待ちだ。
ビーズがたくさん。
Yeah, so much drama.
こっちは何に使うんですか。
これは飴や。こう持って小刻みに振ってみ。
Yeah, there we go. The old guys from the opening.
粒が打つ感じですね。
Oh, sound effects.
挟むように鳴らすとより繊細な音になるで。
Don't they just use pre-recorded sound effects now, though? I mean,
漫画的なヒューチュー音全般に出せるフィア。棒のスライドを調節することで野球の球の飛ぶ音やらリアルな幽霊音やらなんでいける。
yeah, you use that to create the sounds, but then you have a repertoire, right? Of all these sounds.
それ持って糸しごいてみ。
But it is cool that they're actually showing us how these sound effects actually came into play.
ラジオ局に入社した時から使うてたもんや。昭和40年頃か。
19.
まだ外録する機材も貧弱やったしな。せやからこうしてスタジオで音を作
Now
る。
that is cool.
極めてくるとだんだんこういうもんも使わん。
Yeah, they don't use it nowadays because it's all
あれ見したれや。
they have like a set of sound effects they can use.
すごい、馬のひづめそっくり。
口と手だけのレパートリーでも200はいけるな。
はあ。
姉ちゃんらに聞か
That is cool as heck.
こんなを余すとこなくはっきりできたのはあれやな、銀河戦役。うわ、銀河戦役。いや、懐かしな。スギちゃんの本やろ。500機の UFO の変態を演じ分けんねや。
Wow.
宇宙歴4050年、超銀河帝国の暴虐に整形の枠を超えた
Is this Star Wars?
その数およそ500。今日芸人さんと共演するんですか？俺らのどこを見て芸人や思うねん。
ミナレ、紹介するよ。この道では知らない者がいない伝説の音工、カーコートンとカーコーエン。大阪のラジオ局を退職したところを
I wonder if these two are actual, like, true legends in the radio world of Japan. Like, they might be based on some real people, right?
猿のミイラになっとった思うし、言うてもこっちでもほっとかれ気味やけど。せっかくな、キューベースやらソナやら覚えたとこで外注に切り替える言われんねんからたまらんわ、しょうもない。アナログしかいじれん俺ら二人みたいな旧時代の音工は用なしですわ。ペアだけに。
二人を呼んだのは
いや、もうわかりますよ。音響効果を外注する金も欲しいんでしょ、この番組は。
ブー。それじゃあせいぜい8割5分の正解ってとこだ。
そんなにあんのかよ。むしろへこむわ。
Yeah, shouldn't you?
外注で金がかかるのはジングルとかだよ。効果音はよほど珍しい音でもなけりゃ、ジャスラックから購入済みのコンピレーションで事足りる。この二人に声をかけたのはな、今回使う素材がそれこそ
Okay, this is gonna be interesting.
音だからだよ。
のテステス。みなちゃん、聞こえる？この間のデートでさ、みなちゃん、ほら、モーリスグッズのトランクスだけ持って
Wait, what?
家探したら俺持っててさ、あれさすがにただなら欲しいでしょ、男物といえど。渡すついでにもう一回デートできたらな。
マトウさん、これ何ですか？
Yeah.
初めて聞くんですけど。
渡すついでに
私に黙ってこっそり三つ男に会って撮ったんですか？
顔もフルネームも住所も電話も
Wait, did he remix his voice?
しかしま、お前にそう言ってもらえりゃ、二人の苦労も報われるな。
Huh? And they completely
した音声データを
yeah manipulate. Okay,
三つの声質に変換。
I was like, did they get someone to imitate his voice?
今日はラジオドラマ仕立てでやる。ただし、もちろん生でだ。あと伝説の二人が若いスタッフの受けを取るために持ってきたそこのカビ臭い小道具。
失礼なちゃん。
それ使ってみるか。せっかくの都心ヤマグだ。
待って待って、何のためにデートを丸一日分録音させたんですか？いや、あれに何ら手を加えず丸々流されたらそれはそれで抗議しますけど。
喋り癖を模倣して脚本書くんだから、サンプルは多すぎても困ることないだろ。
すまんな、ジョーちゃん。もっと早う音源が用意できてれば前日視力もできたんやけど、こいつが波形編集手間取って今日になって人に丸投げ
That is cool as heck.
だから試した言うたお前ちゃうんか。オーディション使ったこともないのに何偉そうなこと言うてんねん。
結局何がこの二人じゃないとできない仕事だったんです？
そりゃだってお前、むちゃくちゃ暇じゃないと頼む。こんな作業。
ところで、先に聞いときますけど、ラジオドラマってどんな話ですか？
Yeah, what is it about?
どうせ。
この間言ったろ。埋葬。
There we go.
これは三つ音、そしてお前の埋葬でもある。自分を裏切った男への愛憎にトップギアで振り回され続ける舌の回る一般女性。いや、俺と飲み屋で出会ってからのお前のスタンスだ。しかしそろそろその先を見ようや。すでに番組にはお前の名を冠したタイトルコールが入り、新聞のラテ欄には DJ の名前も記載されている。名実ともにお前をラジオパーソナリティにする。
Kill the old Jew.
死んで
This guy. Oh man, Arian for another legendary performance. Let's see.
生でラジオドラマとか40年ぶりや。
Damn. Wow. This is how they used to do it in the old days.
少しは手伝ったらどうなんだ。
後処理までが料金でしょ。
リバーブうんと強めに。
お前、もう少し真剣に考えろよ。大雨の中の死体処理の利点なんて、音バレしにくいくらいしかねえんだ。土は水を吸って重くなるし、死体を寝かせて泥で覆っても、水が引けたらどう見えるのか予測がつかねえ。俺は今日の決行に反対したぜ。責任は持たねえぞ。今さらこれを聞くのもなんだが、こいつはなんで死ぬ羽目になったんだ。
I wonder
世間話だ。マジで興味はねえよ。
I wonder how they actually recorded this. I mean as an anime. Like the sound effects being used. Did they really use
冗談だろ。俺への払いより安いじゃねえ。
this traditional kind of sound effect method?
私には人を殺す理由なんて50万の金で十分なんだ。裏切られたって事実がありゃ十分。
思ったよりかかっちまったぜ。夜が明けねえうちに引き上げるぞ。なんだ。
What? What? That is true. That's what seiyus have to do.
なんでこの流れでキスできんのよ。隙間か。これで10万くらい負けてもらえる？
夫殺しの女の唇にそんな価値があるかよ。1000円ってとこだ。
ここでしてかな。
するわけねえだろ。だがヤサに帰る前にホテルに寄る暇くらいはあるぜ。
じゃあ早く片付けて帰ろうよ。殺すと体がホテルたちに。
やれやれ。
すごい雨。ねえ、後で確認に来るでしょ。どっかに目印。
Zombie.
やめてよ、こんな時にさ。
What?
お腹減った。
What the hell? Wait, you can't stop that! Oh my god. That is the worst! That is the worst. Ah. Oh man. Well, see you guys after this. Alrighty. Man, I hate it when we need to cut short an episode just because the time is up and then we don't get to reach the conclusion of a particular situation. But I guess it works, right? A cliffhanger like that, you obviously want to continue watching on into the next episode. Although honestly, I think most people who are still watching it, I mean, we're 10 episodes in, right? If you're still watching it, you must be invested in it somehow. But alright. Anyways, this episode was super interesting to me in terms of the, I guess, informational kind of stuff. I mentioned at the beginning of starting this series that part of the reasons why I do like to watch these types of series with focusing on a particular subject is because I can learn something from it as well. And in this case, yeah, the sort of sound effect, guys, that was actually something... It makes a lot of sense if you think about it, but I guess because it's just so different from how things are done nowadays, at least to the best of my knowledge, that it's not something that you really think about, and you don't really think about how exactly they produced those sound effects in the past, right? So anyways, nowadays, as is mentioned in this, in the anime as well, you can get these sort of sound effects from basically a database. In Japan, apparently they need to buy it from JazzRack, which is the sort of audio copyright association of Japan. Lots of people don't really like them. They are way too strict in the way they handle copyright. Personally, I think it stifles the entire Japanese recording industry as well. But that's not, we're not gonna go there. That's like another topic for another time. You can also just as easily find these sort of sample sound effects on the web as well. There's actually a lot of websites that operate which allow you to buy a particular jingle or a particular sound effect, and you can get full rights, so you can also use it for commercial purposes as well. So anyways, nowadays what's typically done is if you need a sound of rain, for instance, professionals would actually go out to a certain place with professional recording equipment and directly record the like, for instance, they might leave it on for, I don't know, like maybe 10 minutes or whatnot, just for the entire rain sound effect, and then they will obviously loop it and so on and so forth, right? And make sure it's clean, it's clear, yada yada yada. And of course that would then be, so those websites or those organizations that have this would then put them up for sale, and so those that need it can utilize it as needed, and it's all done digitally, right? In terms of doing it live, that obviously depends on the sound engineers and whatnot. Sometimes there'll be soundboards as well to use that kind of thing, but definitely using those kinds of props, it makes so much sense, but you just, I guess it's just still a treat to actually see that in action, right? I don't really think anybody is doing that nowadays, beyond some very particular sound effects, like very rare ones which you can't get, but even then I would typically think that they would try to get a digital recording of said sound effect with without doing it live, because that carries a lot of risk to do it live, right? Not to mention it's probably a lost art at this point, and so there's literally maybe only a few people now still living or still active that can actually handle this sort of situation. But super cool to see, super cool to see. So yeah, the episode, right? And by the way, the sort of question I had during the recording of the radio drama was, since the anime itself is also something that needs to be recorded as well, right? Did they actually get those props and get those sort of old sound engineers and whatnot and utilize those sound effects directly during the recording of the anime? Or did they actually just use some pre-recorded stuff instead? That's, I don't know. Hopefully an interview will come out sometime soon to explain that. It would be really cool if they actually recorded this episode and all the sound effects in this episode using this sort of manual live sound effecting, I guess you could say. And as for the rest, the radio drama, well, we get to see them being seiyus as well, right? Again, I think I mentioned before that radio personalities, I don't think the typical radio personality would actually do these kinds of radio dramas. That's more a particular subset of skills. Seiyus, however, are obviously very well suited to do this. It's no, I guess I can't really say, since I'm not, again, I don't listen to that much radio, but at least from times when I did listen to radio, they were more, I don't think I've ever heard them actually try out a radio drama or something like that. I do think that is more of a seiyu kind of thing to do, and obviously it fits here because the people who are voicing these radio personalities are actually seiyus, so it makes total sense that they can do radio drama, because you need to, like I said, I think I mentioned this back in episode 3 or 4 or something like that, one of the earlier episodes. If you really want to do this, that requires totally different training. You need to learn how to be an actor, you need to learn how to manipulate your voice, right? And that is obviously not something that all radio hosts are able to do. One other thing that came out from this episode that was super interesting was how they sort of imitated Mitsuo's voice here, right? So in the end, like, obviously they're not going to just use the raw recording. Like I said before, I feel like that is kind of infringing on the legal rights of Mitsuo. Then you can't do something like that. So they basically sort of manipulated the sound. I'm not sure if they just got someone who could speak in a mannerism and in the same sort of tone and inflection as Mitsuo. or they actually use some digital manipulation to get the sound closer to what Mitsuo would sound. I don't actually see a particular reason why they need to use Mitsuo anyways. Nobody knows what Mitsuo sounds like. I mean, the listeners, basically, the listeners of that radio program. They could have literally used any kind of voice and no one would be none the wiser, right? So perhaps I guess Mato might think that doing this might bring out more emotion from Minare, and perhaps that is going to help drive the authenticity of this particular radio drama, right? At least that's the only explanation I can have. Otherwise, it seems like a lot of work to do something like that isn't really needed in the first place, because nobody who was listening to this would actually know how Mitsuo sounds like and what his manner of speaking is. But it actually kind of brings up another interesting point that they didn't really go too much into in this episode, but it is on the subject of this sort of digital manipulation and indeed the sort of deep fakes that is really gaining popularity in today's world. Now, I guess you could say I work in the IT industry, so this is kind of something that I keep an eye on about. Deep learning and all that, machine learning, utilizing machine algorithms to sort of manipulate. I think the more commonly known kind of manipulation is for photos, right? For pictures. Well, actually, I guess I can't really say that, but you can do both. So in the terms of deepfakes for videos, obviously for a still photo, that is simple, right? Well, I can't really say simple, but it's at least magnitudes simpler than editing something like a video. But technology nowadays is actually even able to, for a video part, you can actually change out the face of a particular actor in a video part and swap it for a face of someone else using this sort of digital manipulation. And it's really cool, but also really how can I say it? It's also really frightening at the same time, because sooner or later it's going to be indistinguishable from the real thing, and you don't even know if this is legit or not, right? And the same goes for voices as well. Voices can also be deepfaked, so you can literally have a recording of someone saying something which they never said before, but it feels and sounds exactly like that particular person, right? And of course, this has huge implications in the future, which, once again, I'm not going to go too much into, but just know that it exists, the technology is already there, and it's getting better and better every single day here. Now, obviously, I don't think in terms of this episode they went that far and used that sophisticated technology to do that. If you're just, messing around with some audio software manually and whatnot, I don't quite think that you're able to get that same level of manipulation to make it sound as similar to the real thing. But it's something to keep in mind, right? I just thought it was a little bit of trivia that you guys might be interested in, since we are on the subject of digital manipulation of voices. And I guess the last thing to talk about would be the actual, I guess, drama, you could say, in regards to the episode, particularly of love, right? Where we got the situation with Minare and Mitsuo, and then we got Takahara as well, and then Tachibana. I mean, not Takahara, Takarada, I think is his name. Well, not really too much to say there. I do kind of agree with Tachibana, though. Minare, you're really taking advantage of. And the ironic thing here is that she literally said at the beginning of this episode, right? I was like, wow, Minare, you're actually getting self-aware now, right? You can't always rely on other people's kindness. Otherwise, you'll just be lesser and lesser of a person. You will be grown over-reliant on other people, right? But I feel like that can immediately, even though she just said that at the beginning of the episode, it can immediately be applied to her situation with Takarada as well, who she's really taking advantage of, right? She's taking advantage of the fact that he's infatuated with her, and he is very kind to her, and he's inherently kind, of course, and basically hurting him. So I gotta side with Tachibana here. Bad Minare, right? Bad on her for this. And yeah, I think there was one other thing I wanted to talk about. What was it again? Oh, I guess it's in regards to Minare's love philosophy or love life, whatever you want to call it. I already mentioned this in the last episode, but this episode confirms it again. So the reason why she is so compatible with Mitsuo is probably stemming from the case that she normally on her own is kind of a hopeless person. However, when she has someone she loves, she actually turns into a dependable person, like sort of shifting her demeanor, her personality, and whatnot. And that's something that she feels empowered by, let's just say. And so that is why she's always going to be more attracted to those to the guys who maybe might not be as able to take care of themselves. I would even say maybe more immature, let's just say. And she's going to be attracted by those kind of people, and definitely not the sort of Takarada kind of people who are mature, who are independent, who are entirely self-reliant, etc., etc. So, just nice to get some confirmation here. Anyways, that's it for now for episode 10. Looking forward to the next episode. I really want to see what becomes of Minare. Is she actually going to be reincarnated? Not just in the radio drama, but in real life as well. Is she going to turn a new leaf and turn into a dependable and strong woman who is a fearless DJ of the radio waves? Well, we'll see in the next one. Thank you guys for watching. See you guys next week.